These are the new Distress Crayons, and what's unique about these Distress Crayons, it is a water-reactive pigment. They're available in 3 sets, so 18 colors, 3 sets of 6 right now. There's a bright set, vintage set, and kind of an earth tone set. And what's unique about these, as you can see, is they go on like a crayon. They have the ability to watercolor or blend with water because they are water reactive, but you can also smudge them, you can move them around. So the crayon itself has a very kind of creamy consistency to it. I've kind of described it almost like a lipstick. It's very smooth. It's got a barrel at the bottom that turns to extend the medium up, so you've got all that medium in the stick. It's the length of a pen, so you have the ability to kind of draw or sketch with it. We can color with it. Let me grab a piece of watercolor cardstock just to show you. I can work with it on watercolor cardstock. I can use it on manila tag. I can use it on dark surface because we're dealing with a pigment. So we can color on multiple surfaces. Now when we work with this, it is a little different for coloring. Most of the time if you're used to coloring with a marker, and I'll try some different colors, usually when it comes to a marker we try to apply a small amount of medium on the surface and blend it out. The crayons, completely different. We want a large amount of medium, and here's why. If I go in with a water brush and I just start to try to pull out that color, I'll be able to pull out a little color, but if I go in where I have a lot of pigment, I have more pigment to pull all that color out. Completely opposite. So if you're going to color with them, you would apply a heavy layer of that crayon, and that's going to give me the ability to take that and manipulate and blend that color out. You can also mix these. So if I want to layer colors, I can take the crayon and I can apply that to the surface. I can put another color directly in. You'll never contaminate these. I can either independently blend out the color, or I can mix it into an entirely new color. Alright, so they're completely mixable, which is cool. Oh, it gets better. This is only the beginning. You can use these a lot of different ways. For example, this is our new wood grain cardstock. This is a 111-pound white cardstock that has a wood grain texture on one side, smooth on the other. So I can take the crayon and I can kind of scribble it over the top, and you have the ability to smudge this out. So unlike working with an acrylic paint that doesn't have the ability to smudge or move, these will allow you to smudge and move and manipulate these colors to create any kind of texture you want. And we can use them on different surfaces. So let's talk about that. Let's see what I have. You can stamp over the top of them, yes, but not with them. Yes, and that's one of the big differences with others, not naming names, just saying. They have some different properties, they really do. So why would we want to put collage medium on something? Well, not only do we want to collage with ephemera, but it's going to give the Distress Crayons a whole new life. When I work with this medium, so for example this one has some ephemera and the collage medium over the top, I can go in with these and I can outline this, so I can create that drop shadow, smudging that around with my fingers.
Because it's covered with a medium already?
Because it is, because it already has that collage medium on it. Or I can go in and add colors to the background. Now back here, even though you can't see anything, this has some matte collage medium. So let me take some colors. And I'm just going to go in and scribble some of these colors on there. Yeah, nice. And when I blend these out, it just depends on how you want to go in and blend these colors. I just want to go with my finger, just kind of blend some of these colors together. If you want to keep a clean area, just change your finger that you're blending them with. If you were watercoloring, you can watercolor direct, or I can scribble onto a surface and pick it up with a water brush or a paintbrush. But here I'm just going to add more pink. All right.
How do the crayons do in heat as far as like, Texas or Arizona or with that? Do they? Well, he lives
completely
in
fine. I live in
so,
Arizona.
yeah.
It's completely fine. Yeah. No, it's a heat stable medium too, so I can even dry it with a heat tool, and I don't have to worry about the crayon kind of melting or dissolving off of my surface. So when you put these on, their drying time, they stay smudgeable right away, right? But the longer they dry, so I would say in about a minute or so, they don't smudge nearly as easy. And what's nice about this, like down here, this is already dry, which means unlike an oil pastel, you can touch it once it's dry and it's not going to smudge again. So let's talk about that for a minute and I'll get back to this. When you go and apply this to a surface, Usually people expect a distressed product, when I say it's reactive with water, they're expecting it to go crazy, right? Because we know that if something is distressed and we say that it's reactive with water, what's going to happen when I spray this with water? Nothing. Okay? So what's interesting about this is that this does not move unless you move it. So when I use it for mixed media, if I get water on something, I don't have to worry about this going crazy. I get to decide when I want to move and blend this, okay? Which means that even though I touch this, it's not going to move everywhere, but I can get it to move for me. So I'm going to take a stencil. These are the new mini layering stencils, just a smaller version of the cool stencils. I've already used numbers. Let's not cheat. Let's do something different. Let's do a different texture, a different style. I have such fun with these just because you have the ability to create such great effects. Let's do lattice work, right? So here I can take stencil, I can lay this down, I can go in with the baby wipe.
I'm just sneaking in real quick because we're heading out.
Okay.
See, continue. I'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, go. Should we like edit that?
Yes.
All right, we're good. So I'm going to take a baby wipe, and I'm going to take that baby wipe and place this on there, and I'm just going to start wiping through that, and that's going to lift it off. So it gives me the ability to go right through that because that layer has collage medium on it. So that means it's going to allow that color to lift and add, and I don't have to worry about the smudging. Oh, it gets better. It's so cool. Because whenever you're working with this, so let's say you have some metal embellishments. Okay, we have quote bands, word bands. If you want to add color into any embossed metal, so whether you have a type token or quote band or word band, you can take the Distress Crayons and you can go right into metal, and it will fill in that area, and unlike acrylic paint, you have zero drying time. As soon as that's in, it's done, it's permanent. And I can color right over with another one. Super easy way to alter metal. Now, it's a lot easier. But one of my favorite things, as always, when it comes to working with medium, even though the Distress Crayons have that beautiful smudgeability and the ability to watercolor, is with anything that I do that's new to the Distress line, I need it to always come home. It must always work with distressing. So anytime I've added something new, a stain, a spray stain, a paint, it always has to work with this. So this one you saw, I was just kind of making my finest work ever by blending this out. But I just want to show you that if you take Distress ink, you can also take Distress stain or spray stain. If you go over the top of these, I like to show with a blending tool because you're like, well, wait a minute, you said you can smudge it, but this is dry, right? So the only time you'll smudge it is right when you apply it. You got like that little smudge time, but it's not an oil pastel, so it's not like every time you touch it, you're gonna smear it. So it's still a pretty stable medium. So it allows me to even use my blending tool and not smudge it everywhere. But once I have ink on here, I can either leave it or I can add water to it, and you'll see that it resists, even the watercolor resists distressing. But why isn't that color moving? It will move it if I move it, which is why you can't color these on a rubber stamp and stamp them. I didn't want them to do that because then that makes that medium always fugitive. I wanted something that if I wanted to move it, I would have to touch it. So if you colored a stamp and sprayed it with water and stamped it, nothing would come off. You'd have to drag the stamp across the paper. So I wanted these crayons to do, I already have things to stamp with. I don't need to stamp with these. I can stamp with paint, markers, everything else. I wanted something that makes a very cool resist with my inks and stains, gives me great smudgeable, mixed media aspects, use it because it's dry enough that I can use as a top layer on embossed surfaces, but also create these awesome effects working with a whole new medium. So those are the beauties of Distress Crayons. Pretty cool.